Good morning. Have a very good day. Now let's go back to the text and see what will happen next. Almas's mother and aunts stood clinging to the leaves of a coconut tree, calling out to her. A wave uprooted the tree, and they too were washed away. So Almas's mother and aunts somehow stood clinging to the leaves of a coconut tree. So initially they tried or they were successful in saving their lives by clinging, by hanging to the leaves of a coconut tree, calling out to her. So they were continuously calling out to her, calling out her name, calling out the name of Almas. A wave uprooted the tree. So what can be more pathetic than this scenario or than this situation that they were in? A wave had uprooted the tree, which was their last hope of saving their lives. So a wave had uprooted the tree they were clinging to, they were hanging on, and they too were washed away. So they too were washed away by that inevitable pool, by that uncontrollable force which that devastating water had brought with it in the form of giant wave or waves. Almas saw a log of wood floating. She climbed onto it, then she fainted. When she woke up, she was in a hospital in Camorta. From there, she was brought to Port Blair. The little girl does not want to talk about the incident with anyone. She is still traumatized. So she was greatly shocked and distressed by what has happened with her. So she was in a great shock and she was extremely distressed. She was extremely disappointed. She was extremely painful, or she was in a painful situation. She was in a situation where she couldn't explain even what she was going through. So she was extremely shocked with what was happening in and around her. So when she was brought to the hospital, the little girl does not want to talk about the incident happened with her. She was in no mood, or she was not at all in a mood to talk with anybody about what had happened with her. So after she got on to a log of wood, she felt unconscious, and after she was being taken to a hospital, she was speechless out of extreme shock. Part 2. Tilly Smith, a British schoolgirl, was able to save many lives when the tsunami struck Phuket beach in Thailand. Though she has won a number of awards, her parents have not allowed their daughter to be interviewed on a television and made into a heroine. So British schoolgirl, a small schoolgirl, a British schoolgirl was able to save many lives when that tsunami somehow struck the island of Phuket beach in Thailand, or this very beach of Thailand. She had won many awards too for her great deed. Her parents had decided that they would not, however, going to allow their daughter to be interviewed on television and made into a heroine. Now here is a story from Thailand. The Smith family from Southeast England were celebrating Christmas at a beach resort in southern Thailand. Tilly Smith was a 10-year-old schoolgirl. Her sister was 7 years old. Their parents were Penny and Colin Smith. So here is another story from Thailand where the Smith family was from Southeast England, who were celebrating Christmas at a beach resort in South Thailand. Tilly Smith was a 10-year-old schoolgirl. Her sister was 7 years old. So they were very small girls, or they were very younger, and their parents were named as Penny and Colin Smith. So they had gone to a place where people generally go to enjoy their holidays. So a resort is a place where people generally go to enjoy their holidays. So they had gone to Thailand, they had visited Thailand, and they had gone, or they were in a resort to celebrate the Christmas. It was 26th December 2004. Deadly tsunami waves were already on their way. They had been triggered by a massive earthquake of northern Sumatra earlier that morning. The water was swelling and kept coming in. Penny Smith remembered the beach was getting smaller and smaller. I did not know what was happening. So she could see. So Penny, means one of the parents of Tilly, could see that the beach was somehow getting smaller and smaller due to the approach of those giant waves, or approaching water that were having tremendous potential, that were going to show, or those were basically going to prove dangerous, fatal to the whole island. So at first what Penny Smith could remember, that the beach was getting smaller and smaller by the approaching water, by the approach of a giant wave. But Tilly Smith sensed that something was wrong. Her mind kept going back to a geography lesson she had taken in England just 2 weeks before she flew out to Thailand with her family. So her mind was somehow going back to a lesson that she had read that she had read? Where? It was in England. It was in her school of England, where she got to know about something before she flew out to Thailand with her family.